The 80 to 20 principle. Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist, observed in the early 1900s that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the population. He also noticed that 80% of the peas in his garden came from just 20% of the pea pods. This observation led him to develop the 80 to 20 principle. The 80 to 20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle, states that in many situations, 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. For example, in a business, 80% of the profits may come from just 20% of the customers, or 80% of the complaints may come from just 20% of the products or services. The 80 to 20 principle can be applied in many areas of life, including business, personal productivity, and happiness. By focusing on the most important 20% of tasks or activities, you can achieve greater results with less effort. Understanding the hidden power of 80 to 20. The 80 to 20 principle is not just a numerical quirk, it is a fundamental law of nature. It is evident in many natural phenomena, such as the distribution of star sizes, the size of earthquakes, and the size of wealth distribution in societies. The 80 to 20 principle is often not an exact 80 to 20 split, but a general guideline that can help you identify the most important factors in a situation and prioritize your efforts accordingly. For example, in some cases, it may be a 90-10 split, while in others, it may be a 70-30 split. The 80 to 20 principle can be applied in many areas of life, including time management, customer service, and product development. For example, focusing on the 20% of customers who generate 80% of the revenue can help a business prioritize its marketing efforts. The 80 to 20 principle is not a one-time fix, but requires ongoing attention and optimization. As situations change, the 80 to 20 split may shift, and it is important to continually evaluate and adjust priorities. Putting 80 to 20 to work. In business, the 80 to 20 principle can be applied to customer segmentation. By identifying the 20% of customers who generate 80% of the revenue, a business can prioritize its marketing efforts and tailor its products and services to meet their needs. The 80 to 20 principle can also be applied to time management. By focusing on the 20% of tasks that generate 80% of the results, individuals can be more productive and achieve their goals more efficiently. The 80 to 20 principle can be applied to personal relationships. By identifying the 20% of people who bring the most joy and value to our lives, we can prioritize our time and attention towards building and nurturing those relationships. The 80 to 20 principle can be applied to personal finances. By identifying the 20% of expenses that generate 80% of the costs, individuals can focus on reducing those expenses to save money. The 80 to 20 principle can also be applied to happiness. By identifying the 20% of activities that bring the most joy and fulfillment, individuals can prioritize those activities and make time for them in their daily lives. Thinking and working 80 to 20. To adopt an 80 to 20 mindset, it is important to think critically and question assumptions. By doing so, individuals can identify the key factors that drive results and focus their efforts on those factors. To work more efficiently, it is important to identify the 20% of tasks that generate 80% of the results and prioritize those tasks. This could be achieved by using tools such as to-do lists, time blocking, and prioritization techniques. To work smarter, it is important to adopt a learning mindset and continually seek out new knowledge and skills. By doing so, individuals can identify the key areas that will generate the most value and focus their efforts on those areas. To think creatively, it is important to break free from traditional thinking patterns and adopt a mindset of experimentation and risk-taking. This could be achieved by trying new things, embracing failure, and seeking out diverse perspectives. To achieve success, it is important to adopt a mindset of persistence and perseverance. By focusing on the 20% of activities that generate 80% of the results and persisting through challenges and setbacks, individuals can achieve their goals. How to think 80 to 20. To identify the key factors that drive results, it is important to question assumptions and critically evaluate the situation. By doing so, individuals can identify the 20% of factors that generate 80% of the results. To think creatively, it is important to break free from traditional thinking patterns and adopt a mindset of experimentation and risk-taking. This can be achieved by trying new things, embracing failure, and seeking out diverse perspectives. To work smarter, it is important to adopt a learning mindset and continually seek out new knowledge and skills. By doing so, individuals can identify the key areas that will generate the most value and focus their efforts on those areas. How to work 80 to 20. Identify the key tasks that generate the most results. Eliminate non-essential tasks that do not contribute to the overall goal. This can be achieved by delegating, outsourcing, or eliminating tasks that do not have a high impact. Focus on high-value work that generates the most impact. This requires a disciplined approach to time management and prioritization. Continually evaluate progress and adjust strategies as needed. This can be achieved by regularly reviewing metrics and key performance indicators, KPIs, to determine if efforts are focused on the right tasks and if results are being achieved. Embrace innovation and experimentation. This can be achieved by encouraging new ideas, taking calculated risks, and continually seeking out new ways to work more efficiently and effectively. Personal success. Identify your strengths and focus on activities that leverage those strengths. This can be achieved by using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of activities that generate 80% of your personal success. Personal success often depends on strong and key relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. Using the 80 to 20 principle, focus on the 20% of relationships that generate 80% of your happiness and fulfillment. Taking care of your physical and mental health is essential for personal success. Using the 80 to 20 principle, identify the 20% of activities that have the greatest impact on your well-being and prioritize those activities. To achieve personal success, it is important to continually learn and grow. Using the 80 to 20 principle, focus on the 20% of activities that generate 80% of your personal growth and development. It is important to embrace a growth mindset and approach challenges with a positive attitude. Using the 80 to 20 principle, focus on the 20% of opportunities that have the greatest potential for growth and development. Business success. Identify profitable products and service. By using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of products or services that generate 80% of profits, businesses can focus their efforts on those offerings and potentially increase profitability. As previously mentioned, by using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of customers that generate 80% of revenue, businesses can focus their efforts on satisfying those customers and potentially increase customer loyalty and profitability. By using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of activities that generate 80% of results, businesses can streamline their operations and potentially increase efficiency and productivity. Invest in employee development. By using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of employees that generate 80% of results, businesses can prioritize the development and retention of those employees. Businesses often rely on partnerships to achieve success. By using the 80 to 20 principle to identify the 20% of partnerships that generate 80% of results, businesses can focus their efforts on nurturing those relationships and potentially increase profitability and growth. Money. Use the 80 to 20 principle to identify The 20% of investments that generate 80% of returns and increase their wealth. Cost-cutting measures and potentially increase their savings. High-paying opportunities that focus their career efforts on those and potentially increase their earning potential. And prioritize purchases and potentially increase satisfaction and financial well-being. Happiness. Use the 80-20 principle to identify sources of happiness, positive relationships, meaningful activities, reduce stress and negative emotions, cultivate gratitude and positivity, putting the 80-20 principle into practice. The first step in applying the 80-20 principle is to become aware of its existence and potential impact. This involves identifying the areas of life where the principle can be applied. To apply the 80-20 principle effectively, individuals need to identify the vital few, the 20% of activities or inputs that generate 80% of the outcomes or results they desire. This involves conducting a thorough analysis of the relevant data and information. Once the vital few have been identified, individuals can focus their efforts on those activities or inputs that generate the greatest impact or value. This involves prioritizing those activities and allocating resources accordingly. The 80-20 principle is a dynamic process, and individuals should apply it iteratively to continually optimize their efforts and outcomes. This involves regularly re-evaluating priorities, identifying new vital few, and adjusting strategies as needed. The 80-20 principle is based on the concept of simplicity, and individuals should embrace this concept in their efforts to apply the principle. This involves focusing on the most important activities or inputs, minimizing unnecessary complexity or waste, and streamlining processes and systems. Like and subscribe for new books weekly at Illustrated Books.